El radioarte es la inspiración que se le presenta al oyente que escucha a que pueda configurar un escenario propio. Se apela mucho al aspecto subjetivo del radialista, de la persona que elabora esta pieza. Debe ser armónico, es decir, sonar bien. Es un género totalmente libre en su construcción.
Totalmente libre en su construcción.
Radio art is the invitation that we make to the receiver,
the radio listener.
Time to influence the space of their own. We appeal to the person who creates the piece, the artist's subjectivity. It has to be harmonic.
Los ingredientes con los que vamos a trabajar son los elementos del lenguaje de la radio, con música, con efectos, con la voz, la palabra y con el silencio.
It has to sound good. It is a completely free genre when it comes to framework.
Música, con efectos, con la voz, la palabra y con el silencio.
There is no rigid diagram or structure that allow us to design radio art. You're listening to the noise of the message.
Para una mejor escucha, recomendamos el uso de auriculares.
It is already. Okay, good. Well, hopefully John will, I'll text him to say. And again, obviously, the appeal of authoritarians, governments, and leaders is spreading all over the globe. It is. Yeah. The loudspeaker spoke up and said. 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 Christianity is stupid. 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 Christianity is stupid.
Yes.
Christianity is stupid. Communism is good. Communism is good. Communism is good. Communism is good.
Yes.
Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Christianity is stupid. Christianity is stupid. Christianity is stupid. Christianity is stupid. Give up. Give up. Give up. Christianity is stupid. Christianity is stupid. Communism is good. Christianity is stupid. Communism is good. Give up. Give up. Give up. From 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. From 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. From 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. Communism is good. Christianity is stupid. Christianity is stupid. Christianity is stupid. Christianity is stupid. Communism is good. From 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. Communism is good. Christianity is stupid. Christianity is stupid. Communism is good. Give up. 17 hours a day. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up.
Yeah. That's what Basel does the most.
Shop as usual
Yeah, you know, my theory is
and avoid panic buying.
not all of our media, but a lot of our media gets your attention and keeps you glued to it by just keeping you frightened.
Yeah.
Scared, and I think there's a certain kind of person that when they're frightened and scared, a leader says, "Oh, I'm going to take care of everything, and the people that you're scared of, I'll crush them." And then you feel like, okay, good, then I don't have to think about it. So I don't know. I just feel like that's probably like a very human thing, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. There he is.
What's up?
Good thing I didn't wear my It's Normal t-shirt. They would look real silly. I almost wore the same shirt John's wearing. We were just talking a little bit because Gerardo is in Chile and Franco is in Argentina. And so we were just talking a bit about our various countries, the rise of authoritarianism in both countries. You know, it's a global thing.
It's a global thing. The next tour ends with a collage of sounds from the insurrection in the capital of the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, and we're gonna try to tour it through Europe. We're trying to figure out ways to make it less U.S. centric, and friends are saying riot sounds are riot sounds. Don't worry, you play that in Europe, people are going to hear their own countries. They're going to hear what's happening there. But we're also looking for samples that can sort of maybe make it a little bit more local for all the different places we're playing over there, so that it's Americans are always disappearing up their own backside sometimes when they talk politics, and we're trying not to do that.
Sure. Are you planning to go to Italy, by the way?
Yes, we will be at the Robot Festival in Bologna.
Right.
And I think we're also they've decided to show this new documentary that's been made about NEGATIVLAND. It's called Stand By for Failure. They're going to show that at the festival, which is very exciting. And we should be able to appear with that too. And then also there's a show in Genoa as well. And now, I'm sorry, and then Rome. There's shows in Rome. So
Yeah.
Three shows in Italy.
You should try to invite the PM there.
Sure, we'll try. Yeah. Well, when we performed more recently here in Texas, which is an especially conservative area of the United States, there were some people who came to our show who've been following our work for many, many years, and they said, "Hey, we've noticed your work lately seems to be a lot more overtly anti-fascist." And I think we said, was that you know, they were like, is that a bad thing? And they're like, no, we just noticed. And we said, well, you know, we're reflecting what we're in the middle of. So yeah, that's what's going on. You know, so it's going to make its way into our work for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so glad to hear you dealing with these topics because we're in Chile approaching the 50th anniversary of the coup.
Yeah.
And there's a strong, very strong out wing and right wing trying to keep it lowering their profile on the one hand.
Yeah.
By the way, yesterday, one of the guys in the military who killed Victor Jara was going to be arrested, and the FBI were there. There's a human rights branch of the FBI, of our FBI, which is called PDI, Policía de Investigaciones de Chile. So they attended his department to summon him. He asked for some time to grab his things and his medicines, and 5 minutes later, they listened to the sound of a gun, and he was dead. He was 87 or something.
Meaning?
He decided to commit suicide instead of going to jail.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And the jail that has been set up for these cases is almost like a hotel. The guys have internet access, they have sauna.
But he just said, no, I'm done. I'm 87 years old and I'm not dealing with this shit. Yeah.
Yeah, 80 something. And he was with his wife waiting.
Yeah, wow, oh my God.
After this, you don't know what to expect, really. We all know that Victor is long dead and gone. Even after some funerals, some very massive and wonderful funerals that were conducted in 2009. But this feeling of not getting justice is sort of tearing us apart. And because we all know the truth, we all know what happened, and everything that comes later, it's funny how information is always coming up, even changing or even widening or even spreading some things we knew already. But it's always surprising that despite all the amount of truth, I was going to say in advertising, but no, all the having noticed and having been informed of all these things, there's still no justice. There's just 2 or 3 military in jail because of that, and one of them is sentenced to 400 years, which is ridiculous and outrageous.
There's a voice sample we use, and I'm not sure if it was a sample that John found or Don, but it's this phrase, feelings are facts. And it's how much the way our brains work, no matter how much facts we get in, for a certain kind of person, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. And it's just because their feelings about the truth, you know. It's very confusing because I think it's like, I feel like half the country is trying their best to make decisions based on some facts, and then other half the country, or I mean in our country, is like it doesn't, there's no amount of facts you can ever tell them will make any difference, because it's just how they feel. And we're seeing it now with what's happening with our former leader being, you know, arrested 4 times.
Yeah.
It's historically, it's just astonishing and insane. Yeah.
And the fact that it's something global is what impresses us the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
50 years since the coup. I've been reading Stafford Beer's The Brain of the Firm. Do you know this book?
Yeah.
Hard to find a copy of that, but it's really astonishing how his work with Allende and Project Cybersyn is coming up a lot these days as a potential model for artificial intelligence governance. Like all of a sudden, the work that was done by Stafford Beer with Allende in Chile is being proposed as a model for how Silicon Valley can run things. And so you get these references to Project Cybersyn in magazines like The Economist.
Crap.
And they don't mention how it turned out. They don't mention...
They never do.
Yeah, it's just insane to read like oh, interesting precedences for this have happened in places like Chile. And then they just sort of elide, well, exactly the U.S. government's own complicity in what they did once Project Cybersyn started working. You know, none of us can agree. We're lucky if the people in the room can agree on everyone's shared history. But yeah, it's been interesting. I just finally found a PDF of Brain of the Firm this year, and so it's amazing for me to realize, wow, yeah, it's already the 50th anniversary of that.
Sure.
look at the number of people that click on the ads versus the number of people that click on the search results, I think you'd actually be astonished. At how many people actually click on the ad. One person may find it terribly upsetting.
We were wondering with Franco and asking ourselves how to do the edit of this show.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, we're trying to do the best we can. And
Can you tell us a little more about, is he gone? Where'd he go?
no, he's here.
He's there. No, could you tell us a little more about, what is your show more about music? Yeah, what's the focus of your radio?
Noise is the message. It's an experimental radio art program. I started to do this job in 2011. And from this year, the idea of this radio program is no speaker, only interviewers, give an artist montage to the audio and surgery edit and make a kind of trip. I interview mostly women working in sound as radio artists first, then experimental women music and men music too. All the diverse spectrum of genres. We work with, to me, the two more important things, noise and silence. So in this area, we try to give 1 hour radio program a week.
Wow. So it sounds like you do a lot of production to pull the show together. A lot of editing, a lot of mixing, a lot of sound. Yeah, sounds like a lot.
From the last 3 years, this radio program is broadcasted binaurally.
Yeah, you're using binaural
Wow.
effects. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. I mean, it's online, but also what's the broadcast signal in Argentina?
In radio, here in Argentina, in Chile, in Colombia, Spain, and Italy.
Nice. Okay.
7 radios.
Yeah.
Then the radio program I upload to YouTube, to some platforms to listen as a podcast format.
But it's mostly the same thing there.
Yeah.
It is broadcasted on radio.
Yeah.
In their radio.
Yeah.
Still matters.
Yeah.
Still matters when it's actually radiation.
Yeah.
And as we talked about a lot, and also we talked amongst ourselves over the years a lot, that Negativland started in 78, 79. The first record was in 1980. But when we met Don Joyce, oh my God.
Yes. Look at this.
It was given to me last year, and it was a real surprise. A friend of mine had some copies, and he told me to choose one, and I chose this one.
Oh my gosh.
And all the covers were different.
Yes, well, back then we made 9,000 vinyl, 6,000 CDs, every cover, front, backward, unique, different.
Wow. Guns.
Wilderness.
Guns. Guns.
Wilderness.
Guns.
But we are now, right now, we found the old tapes after Don died. We've remastered the record, and we're actually making a limited edition 1,000 copies of where all the covers are the set different, the wallpaper on the back is different. It's an upgraded version of what you have there, but everything's better. And it's going to come with a 40-page magazine that's a deep dive interview where we go into every track on the record, how all the tracks were made, and it's going to have some other bonus stuff too. So yeah, that's something that's very, very slow to pull it together, but that's coming together. Yeah, after we made our first 2 records is when we met Don Joyce, and then we started doing these live mix radio shows over the edge, which I'm sure you know about, and which even after John still keeps the show going after Don died.
Right.
But that show, being able to come in every week and do a live 3-hour sound collage around a different theme every week and just have to come up with all these material, all these ideas, it both created for us really exciting radio, but also it became a laboratory for us to explore ideas that would turn into live performances, turn into record. I mean, they all ended up affecting each other. When we perform now, the show has a structure, but there's an enormous amount of improvisation within the structure, and the shows really do, I think, our instinctive way that we improvise and put the flow together of a show comes from radio. It comes from that sense of the segue, the moment where things are exciting and noisy, the moment where they get quieter, the back and forth, that dynamic kind of flow of a really good radio program. And I feel like that's just burned into both our brains. Don't you think, John? Like it's just singing there about how to flow when we're improvising.
I think a lot of people hear the records and think that, it's something that couldn't be performed live, or that it's something that you really require a studio to make. But, the thing that drew me to Negativland was the radio show and the fact that the studio is a live instrument. I think people can hear the liveness of it, even if they don't understand exactly what the instrument is. They can hear that this is music that can be made. You can improvise. You can play this live. And so we've really tried to bring as much of that back onto the stage as possible, so that people really realize, even though you're listening to pre-recordings, you're listening to fixed media, the way that those pre-recordings come together, every single time you press play, it's live music. Our shows can't happen the same way twice, where they always depend on at least a little bit of randomness.
Yeah, and I think we have a kind of an understanding that within the structure of the show, if someone gets an idea and starts going somewhere that we've never talked about, that's totally fine. That's absolute. And often those are the best parts of the show. For me, as a performer, John may throw something in that's like, I didn't know he was going to do that. And then I'm like, just go with it. I think it's like when people do improvisational comedy, there's that rule of yes and when you respond. And it's kind of like that.
Normal musician understands those are always the best moments. It's just that when it's electronic music or you are dependent on pre-recordings, I think we're just mentioning you can take it for granted if you're a normal acoustic musician that you have to go for the spontaneous flow. Right. But it's like that for us too. That's what it's like. It might seem pretty fixed or worked out, but like the most interesting moments really are the spontaneous ones, the things that can't happen again.
Yeah, it feels like I've been listening to a lot of jazz lately, and there's a lot of improvised jazz, and there is this, I sort of connect with the sense of, yeah, we're not playing jazz, but there's something going on, and in the jazz I'm listening to, in that music that is it's very related to what we're doing with electronics, with our iPads, iPhones, boopers, all the little noisemakers and all that stuff, and deep listening. And I find
I'm exhausted after every show we do. I'm so exhausted because it's all about, I'm just listening to what's happening, to what Jon's doing and what I'm doing, how it all works. And it's so intensely to make sure I'm absolutely on it, doing my best. At the end of the show, I always feel like my brain has just been shrunk to the size of a pea. I don't know. I've never asked other improvising musicians, like, what does your mind feel like? The other thing is that when you're improvising, you're so in the present moment that when the show's over, you're still in that present moment. And so after a show, it often feels to me like nothing happened because I'm just right here in the present and there's no show. There's just people milling around or clapping. And it's a weird, I don't know if that happens to you, Jon, but it's a really weird, like our shows can feel like a real intense nothing just happened to me for an hour.
Hunting, murder, target practice, revolutions, robbery, suicides, and war.
But what's the point of protection?
Hunting, murder, target practice, revolutions, robbery, suicides, and war.
For protection.
Hunting, murder, target practice, revolutions, robbery, suicides, and war. Hunting, murder, target practice, revolutions, robbery, suicides, and war.
For protection.
Hunting, murder, target practice, revolutions, robbery, suicides,
for protection,
and war. Hunting,
protection,
murder, target practice, revolutions,
protection,
robberies, suicides, and
protection,
war.
Protection, protection,
Hunting, murder, target practice, and war.
Protection, protection, but what's the point of all this? For protection.
Once you have 5 rounds in your hand, load and lock. Do it now.
Don't shoot till we say so.
If Russia or something ever attacks this country, they've got shows out there. They'll direct on and say,
if you have the gun,
pull the trigger, do it, it's in a box.
Don't shoot till we say so.
We often hear guns don't kill us, so people kill people.
Do it now.
It's really interesting what you say, because in live radio,
yes,
you can have some script, some sections you can prepare before, but one single phone call can you disturb all the radio program.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. The very early days of doing our Over the Edge radio show, like in, I guess, 81, 2, 3, 4, 5, we were on in midnight, which is a good slot for what we're doing. Something I especially loved about it was that you didn't have to think about whether you were buying a record or going to a concert or, spending your time and your money. It was just radio. It's just there. You're tuning the dial and you just stumble on this thing that it doesn't sound like what should be on the radio at all. There's something going on that is breaking all the rules, and especially in the early to mid 80s. And we would get these calls sometimes from people who had pulled over in their car and were calling us on a payphone, and you're like, what is this? What's happening? What's going on? Or years later, I remember meeting someone who worked. We have a convenience store chain in America called 7-Eleven. I'm sure you have something like it.
Absolutely.
In Chile, Argentina. But
since 2004.
Yeah, I remember meeting someone who said, I worked the night shift, and that was one of my favorite things. Is he said, I would turn on your radio show and play it inside the convenience store while I'm working, at 3 a.m. and freak everybody out who's coming in to buy a beer or a candy bar.
I was wondering about your previous question. And it was very funny and interesting because I came across your work by reading Chris Cutler's essay Plunderfonia.
Oh, great. We love Chris. Yeah, Chris was wonderful. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great, excellent work. And then I came across in 2002 the essay by Don's Get Your Own Show. And that started, and to John Oswald's Plunderphonics. So everything came as a sort of, I felt like I opened a box, a door or a box or a Pandora box, and everything just flowed.
Wow.
And I started working with some jogging CD players at first. And some of the feelings that you had with people freaking out because of the sound, I get that because of since it was a jogging apparatus, every time you clicked some of the buttons, it started having a click sound or a beep sound. So you had a beep for playing, a beep for fast forward and rewind. So when I was performing live, all the time this was sounding out. And some of the musicians that were watching me got really freaked out because of that sound, not because of the samples or because of the collage, but because of the sound of the apparatus. Yeah. Beep, beep,
beep, beep. I like that.
I enjoyed that a lot, yeah.
We think we're going to have a problem with our clients. We don't think this is an appropriate vehicle for our clients' advertising.
Hyper real. Making destruction funny is the key to the commercial.
And slow motion has made the reality of play so elongated and sort of strangely hyper real.
Are you one of those that follows the ads?
I don't really follow the ads that much. It's more that it's like I've heard it on the news, on TV. I've heard it on the news and the radio, and I'm hearing it like right now on this is Pepsi's marketing ploy by Coke.
Once
like they're getting a lot of free advertising. It's like even Pepsi is putting Coke into their ads because of the fact that they changed their formula.
Once again, we hear that voice from the wings, and this time it has a sharply accusing tone. You, it says, are denying the value of motivational research.
Watching your latest work, meaning latest 2018 onwards, it seems that on the one hand, this new equipment and this new software for computers have been sort of soothing up the edges of some of the sounds. Because at first, when you work with cartridge tapes or some other samples, you start hearing when the loop is cut and even the loop of the cut itself. But it seems that everything looks so nice and so pretty, and it's like an interweaving which is so smooth that you can't perceive these rough edges anymore. And when I watched your Tiny Desk concert, which was a very big surprise.
It was to us too. That we.
Oh, really?
Oh, sure, because we're on the same program as Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish and Post.
That was provisional. Like they said, go ahead and do it, and then we'll decide whether or not we're going to play it. And I was just like, there is no way they're going to.
And we had a discussion about should we try and make our show a little more, quote, normal, a little more easier because of this context we're being presented in. And our decision was no, we should make it as fucking weird as we possibly can, because if we do get in there, that's the right move to make.
It is, what I use is just, it's this software DJ, and it is actually it's really easy to just, it's very easy to be precise, but it's also very easy to, you can still be fairly rude with it. I'm making mistakes. I know I'm still making tons of really horrible things that I didn't intend to, and I love the simulation of the analog noises that they do to make it sound more like a turntable is simultaneously so artificial, but also so nostalgic.
I love it.
It's still in the tradition. Errors, mistake making. There is more control, but I still hear lots of chaos, even with the new equipment.
Well, Gerardo, you bring up a very good point, which is that when we would do things with cart machines, or when we're doing things, cutting them up with razor blades, which is what we did for so long, the computer allows us to get into it at a microscopic level of being able to place things. What I like about that, there's a density that that Jon has achieved with the voices and the interplay of them that is so musical and intricate. And Jon is, you can move a voice around just a tiny bit, or like a quarter of a second, or put a tiny pause in between one word and another, so you can make the cadence of the spoken word fit to the music very just perfectly. And that's something we couldn't do in the past. And I like the roughness, absolutely, but I also really like being able to see the work evolve into this level of musical usage of spoken word. But you were talking about Tiny Desk. Rough edges are there, and we have released in a live setting. You're absolutely, because it's very live when we perform, and so you're going to hear more of maybe what you sounds like maybe you're missing sort of the rough edges. So bring us to Chile or Argentina, and we'll bring all the rough edges.
Yeah, we'll make lots of mistakes.
We'd love to.
No, I mean, the Ann Arbor Film Festival.
And we'll make them together.
Yeah.
Errors and mistakes.
Excellent.
okay?
Ask me if it's going to be okay. It's okay.
It's normal. It's normal.
The sounds as they appear to you are not only different from those that are really present, but quite impossible.
Life is not a mistake. Life is not a mistake.
Just how far can you go with this thing? You got no other choice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, John, there's an entire concert we did do completely live from various locations during COVID for the Ann Arbor Film Festival. And if we can send you a link to that, but that turned out really wonderfully, and absolutely, it has got a level of chaos to it, especially because we have the weatherman, NEGATIVLAND's David Wills, the weatherman, and he absolutely brings the chaos in a great way that we love. So
improvising online is really crazy because of the 3 to 4 second delay.
Yeah.
You realize that everyone's mix is utterly subjective. Like it's not just like a stage situation where you're wondering what the mix is for the audience and you have no idea if the monitors actually are the sound that's getting to the house. When you're all jamming online and everything's streaming, you have no idea whether your sounds are in the same relationship in time. You have no idea if, like, you think you're playing right along with the beat, but to the audience, you're actually playing 1.5 seconds behind the beat. Precisely.
If you watch the Tiny Desk, if anyone listening, if you do a search on YouTube for Tiny Desk Concert NEGATIVLAND, you'll find this. But that's what John had the idea that we would start the show with all of us doing a sort of a metronome with our fingers because we wanted to show people at home we're not in sync. This is actually how it was for us.
Yeah.
Because most of the COVID music performances were cheating. The drumming would be pre-recorded, and they would go in later, and they would take the live things, and somebody would in post-production, they would line them all up so that they work. For all of us playing, though, it's never the same for each person, and I even think it changes. I feel like it even moves around a little bit. I didn't think it was just stayed exactly the same. What do you think, John?
Well, it does that. Like if there's, Zoom in particular, if there's a dropout, it will pause for a second and then keep streaming and resume by speeding up and time crunching the audio. So if you're playing a regular periodic drum beat, if you have a drum machine going, it'll sound like the drum machine is speeding up and slowing down as your internet cuts in and out, which is great. It's like totally weird. Yeah. So,
and explains the usage of internet as a sort of instrument itself, because nobody at home will listen to the same thing or with the same cuts or the same bits of silence, etc.
When we very first were rehearsing for Tiny Desk, basically had John play all the beats because we said only one person can play the rhythms in the way this works. And I thought John was doing this really funny, cool, granular sound manipulation to the rhythms. And then after a little while realized, oh no, that's an artifact, that's a, quote, a mistake the internet and the software is dealing with because of what John said, it has to play catch up. But I thought it sounded good. Actually, I like the sound.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yes, it does.
It's experimental music, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
If NEGATIVLAND is anything to some degree, it's like, making meta music that draws attention to the way music is made instead of using electronic music to make mysterious, confusing new sounds and you have no idea how they were made. Negativland sort of is trying to, no, you can make music with the radio studio too. You can make music with, whatever electronic garbage is lying around your house. You can make a feedback device like out of a AM radio device like David did. And now it's like, yeah, you can make music with your phone. You can make music on a Zoom call. And here's what it sounds like when you do. Like, here are the artifacts and weird things that are specific and intrinsic to online telematic jamming.
Hey, I saw that the warning came up, so if we go past the time, do we want to call back and keep talking, or because it's fine to talk more? So I saw you have 15 minutes left, and that was...
Yeah, en 10 minutos, in 15 minutes. First, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, no, keep going though. Yeah, and I can keep talking for a while too. And did you send a second link? Is that in the email? I didn't see it. You may need to email it to me again.
Yes.
All right.
So we're losing physical proximity, obviously, through computer technology. Anything else?
I think we're losing intimacy. You can only love somebody that you know well. The average father in the U.S. spends less than 30 seconds communicating with his own children.
So we're losing physical communities. Anything else?
Anonymity, particularly in cyberspace, where you feel like you can get away with almost anything, from the family on up to the nation state.
So we're losing chat rooms and online salons and communication. Anything else?
Well, the capacity for self-deception, or what we might call interest groups, and I don't think those are communities.
So we're losing what the internet is promoting, and cyber libertarianism. Anything else?
I think that the internet does promote sitting alone instantly, becoming absolute to reality. Do you have a grasp of reality, the way things really are in the world? Deadly. We need to spend as much time seeking all other ways of knowing.
So we're losing physical wisdom. Anything else?
I think our relationships are weaker, and I think the search for God is important, and I think ultimate reality still is important in the world today. And I think the best past that gives us some light on the future is that we are so connected to the continuity with the significant technologies around where we eat. It's very interesting, where we come together, where we take our time. That's the way it's going to be, and we're going to get to know one another again. And in fact, I think life is a big mistake. I put intimacy with God in the discussion so we can protect people who feel that they love one another because we're not looking at reality. That's the way it's going to be. Especially those things that were funny.
So we're losing computer technology. Anything else?
Jon, I'd like to send a big hi because I enjoyed a lot your series variations on Radio Web Magba. It's great. It's been a very interesting approach, and it helped me to try to get a sort of similar cartography to Latin American and Chilean expressions and use of sound collage and Plunderphonics, which there is.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting for us to deal and talk with you too as people who have followed this path about these things, because there's not too much reflection and consciousness here in Latin America, most except in hip-hop musicians and some urban musicians now. In some scenes, it's still, the use of samples is still seen as sort of anathematic. So it's very interesting to share this perspective with you who came first and started doing things first, and have been a very stimulating example and invitation for us to do it. So I was...
Well, that's wonderful to hear. I think that, because I've been listening back a lot to our very first record, and when I was working on it, I was 17 years old, and we were very interested in collage back then, but there wasn't, it was much more surreal, Dada, just instinctive. And I think it was by the time we made our third record and we started working with a fellow named Ian Allen, who really pushed us into a more conceptual direction. And basically the idea was, look, if we're going to keep doing collage, we have to take this somewhere different, some were more. And it turns out collage is a really interesting way to talk about our culture, our media, our lives here in the United States. And surprisingly, it has remained interesting. Like it's the way we approach it, the music, the sounds, the technology has evolved, but it just turns out that even after all these decades, there's just endlessly interesting to use bits and pieces of things and juxtapose them in a way that the listener's brain has to work out what's going on, but we're kind of taking you on a journey, where we're making all the guideposts of the journey you're on with sound, but there's something that I love about how ultimately there's not a singular author's voice in the way we cut up and collage. Like if you were writing lyrics, I wrote the lyrics, that's my deal. And we're using all these different voices and creating as a kind of, like a lyrics in a way, but they're all people with different agendas and different places and different attitudes and ideas. We're choosing how to put them together. So we made those choices, but then we're very aware, then you, the listener, complete the equation. Does it make sense? Like you kind of finish out and you're gonna have to work out what the hell are we getting at by how we're putting this together. Which also means that I think our work makes the most sense if you speak English really well. So,
like we still get that modern life is extremely information rich and a little schizophrenic, and that two people can have a conversation without even ever knowing that the other one was alive.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's echo of the cross.
Well, we've never been asked to play in Japan, and I always think that's probably why it doesn't. They don't speak English enough for us to make any sense over there.
This is Pennywise. Joan, you're next.
This is Sue.
Hi Sue, how can I help?
Jim, I really have a problem with impulse buying. I never have money left for anything.
Oh, why?
Jim, I really have a buying impulse problem with buying.
Okay.
Buying anything.
Now, wait a minute. Go ahead and use some of that money to bring some happiness.
Jim, I really have a problem. Jim, I never have money left for impulse buying.
A lot of people have that problem. Take cash.
Good idea. I feel we really need to buy right away.
After all, money is only paper and metal till you put it to use.
I never have money left.
But we've already decided to buy.
Impulse.
I really think it'll help.
Good idea.
Oh, thanks. Okay, let's go to line 4. This is Pennywise. I'm Jim Phillips, and your name is...
Bob.
Hi, Bob. What can I do for you?
I get confused by all the claims made in commercials.
Oh, this is Pennywise. Line 6. You're on. And your name is...
Bob.
Caller number 5. You're on the air with Pennywise. I'm Jim Phillips.
I get confused by all the claims made in commercials.
Let's go to line 7 on Pennywise. Hi, I'm Jim Phillips.
Bob. Commercials. I get confused by all the claims made in commercials.
Oh, well, listen. I think your first responsibility is to yourself and your family.
The what?
Thanks for the call. Hello, you're on Pennywise with Jim Phillips, and you are...
Bob.
Okay, let's go to line 4. This is Pennywise. I'm Jim Phillips, and your name is...
Bob. Commercials.
Hello, caller?
I get confused by all the claims made in commercials.
And your name is...
Bob.
Hi, Bob. What can I do for you?
The what?
Go ahead.
I get confused by all the claims made in commercials.
You sound frustrated.
It's because I am.
Well, my kids and I, for example, love to build things with scrap lumber.
The what?
All right. Thanks for the call, Carl.
Bob.
This is Pennywise. Line 6. You're on.
Bob.
Yeah, Barb.
Bob.
Go ahead.
Claims made in commercials. I get confused.
Why?
I get commercials confused.
I can imagine.
The what?
Well, many religious people follow the biblical plan of tithing. You may want to visit with your clergy about it, but of course...
The what? Commercials. I get confused by all the claims.
And your name is...
Bob.
That's a tough one. A lot of people have that problem.
The what?
Truth in advertising.
I get confused.
Advertising, though, can be a really good source of information because of the truth in advertising policy.
The what?
Because of the truth in advertising policy.
The what?
Truth in advertising.
The what?
Truth in advertising. Truth in advertising. You see, the law requires advertisers to tell the truth.
The what?
The truth. To tell the truth. Truth in advertising.
Good point.
So listen carefully to the wording of an ad.
The what?
The truth in advertising.
The what?
Well, then you have to decide if honesty goes both ways, right? After all, so This is Pennywise. You're on the air. Hi, Bob. What can I do for you?
Yeah, Jim, this is Charlie.
Okay.
I've got a moral question.
You're tackling with something I've been wondering since I started listening to Plunderphonic artists, that it seems a sort of English-oriented art form. And some sound artists from here and from other parts of South America have told me the same, in the sense of, oh, if I understood the lyrics or if I understood the jokes, it would be better. The first thing that I listened from you was Truth in Advertising. And I came to the jokes. I was able to understand the jokes. And I'm also cheating because before getting my MA in musicology, I started to become a teacher of English. And I learned most of the English before going to university by listening to the Beatles. So the Beatles have been guilty for many things in my life. And it... Great. A journalist once interviewed me and said something along that lines. You loved so much the Beatles that you started becoming a musician by listening to Revolution 9. So you start grasping all the possible variations of Revolution 9, in a sense.
I'm convinced that my own personal sense of how to create a flow of a radio show or a record album or a live performance like that what I was talking about before, that kind of intuitive sense of how to dynamically flow from moment to moment. I think that was formed in me by being 7 and 8 years old and listening to the Beatles' White Album. And the way that record is structured is so strange. The Beatles clearly were having fun must have been funny to them. Like, we're going to have each song be as totally different as we possibly can from one to the next to the next to the next. And that's going to be a funny way to sequence our record album. And I just have this feeling that got into my brain in a form, very, very young. And that's informed my thinking ever since. It's my theory.
It's a very sound theory, because it seems that they had that intention.
I would love to hear more of your music, and I'd like to, if you also have any examples of the Chilean experimental scene, I'd also love to hear that. Argentina too. I will check out some of your other programs and the people you've interviewed. But I mean, do you think that it's just sort of percolating and slowly assimilating, and that other people are beginning to work in this way, or do you think that it's just inherently fringe? Like, why aren't there more Chilean sample cut-ups? I mean, certainly there have to be radio shows that do montage and editing. That the record that you mentioned, the Castro Allende, that sounds like a collage record. It sounds like agitprop.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be delighted to send you things and material. My dissertation was applying Plunderphonic's writings to some Chilean records.
Well, I have a question about what you were saying about English. Do you mean that it just seemed like English worked better in doing cut-ups, or do you mean that it seemed like there was a certain northern, western dominating of the... I don't know what I'm asking here, but just something more to do with it's coming to us in this way where it doesn't speak to us in our language. Yeah.
It has to do with a sense of humor, and that's a sort of technique language question. Since you don't have a phonetic language, you have many words that are different but sound the same. Spanish is a Roman language. Everything is phonetic. So there are many jokes from the English language that we don't understand at first.
Right. Wow. Okay.
And that's the main reason why. I was talking to Franco weeks ago because I was watching Animaniacs, and both seasons, I mean, it's very interesting to see the 90s season and the 2020 season. They're very different, and most of the jokes that were done in the 90s are not able to be done now. And the kind of puns that are there, the kind of juxtapositions, the quotes and the references to movies and politicians and people were not wholly grasped here in the Latin American Spanish version, despite the very hard work of the people that was in charge of that. That was dubbed in Venezuela. And the second season was being dubbed by the same actors from Venezuela, the first one.
So, wow.
But anyway, we miss jokes all the time.
So this is, I'm so glad you're explaining this, because this is great. It's inherent in the way English exists as a language that we can even approach it to cut up and have voices bump up against each other and kind of speak to each other in this way that has it stimulates new ways of thinking, humor, jokes, yeah, all of that. That is, I, of course, never thought of that. Wow.
Yeah, I was wondering about the work by Vicky Bennett, for example. It's very humor, and it's a very British humor.
Yeah.
By the way, and she was the first artist I came in touch with during 2009, I guess, because of her WFMU show, which is also great, and it's lovely to hear.
And this tour we have coming up, we will be performing with Vicky in Den Haag at a show, and in London, she's curated a whole 3-day People Like Us festival, and she invited us to be part of it, which is wonderful. We love her and love what she does, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah, well, we've been trying to make her come to South America, but it hasn't been possible for years.
Yeah.
Keep trying.
Yeah, we will. This is our quest in life and a mission in life. A great mission in life too.
We're not all dead yet, so some of us could still come. We could do it. We could do it.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
Before leaving. Mark did that. Yeah, because Mark did that spontaneously while we were talking. So
you're going to edit like crazy. Okay. My name is Jon Leidecker. I play electronic music these days in the group NEGATIVLAND even.
Yes, and I'm Mark Hosler, and I'm one of the founding members of NEGATIVLAND, and I'm always shocked and surprised that we still exist and are still doing stuff after 44 years after our first record came out. That was not the plan, but apparently we're in this for life.
Music can't die.
Yeah.
El ruido es el mensaje.
Vamos por más, dice la rana, escúchame, ¿eh? Esto recién empieza.
Wonderful to meet all of you. Sorry I have to go. Mark, you're in good hands with Mark. The history of the band was there for that. I only joined in 2011, and I only have an observer's perspective for all the earlier records. But yeah, send me links. Send me links to the scene. Can't wait to hear it. I'll talk to you all more soon.
See you soon, John. Okay, and then do you guys want to wait? Let me go look at the hold on. Yeah, let me go check real quick before we cut off here. But if not, you can always email it to me again. I'm on my
and your mail.